Start recording and we're good.
All right, we're recording?
Yes.
We're going? We're just going to go. All right, let me start my timer. All right. Hello. Welcome to Social Engineering for the Blue Team. My name is Timothy D. Block, and really what you have joined is social skills to make you a more effective security person. If you want to get out now, I will not blame you. And because we're in a social skills talk, I'm going to make you do something that I saw years ago that I've been wanting to do for a talk, and that's to talk to somebody else you don't know, introduce yourself, and learn one thing about them. So take a few minutes to go do that right now. Again, if you want to get out, you have an opportunity to get out now. Started. I've already started the talk. I'm making them all talk to each other.
I came in, I was like, shit, is there an issue? What's going on?
Not to. All right, let's bring it back. Bring it back. You guys really took off with that. I'm really happy to see that everyone took to that and actually did it. I have a real sense of power right now over you, so let's all stand up. No, I'm just kidding. So the reason why I did that is during this talk, I want you to think about the interaction you just had with that person that you didn't know, and kind of, I feel like you learn better after having done something, and then you go back, oh, this is what I did wrong, or this is what I did right. And so I want you to apply that as we're talking about social engineering for the Blue Team. So why this talk? I think there's a lot of frustration in security. We're really great at conferences and interacting with each other, and you guys did really great here. Then we go back to our own organizations, and we seem to struggle to get things done. A lot of that can be due to the relationships we've built or haven't built in-house. This was something that I struggled with for a really long time. I was bullied when I grew up, and so I always had an interest in getting and learning how to interact with people better. And really, this all clicked for me last year when I read Chris Hadnagy's social engineering book. A lot of the stuff that he was using to break into an organization are the same things I started realizing I could do within my own organization. I was doing some of it, but there were other stuffs and other techniques within that book that I was not applying, or maybe I was applying and just didn't know it. So I understood the why there of what was making me effective, but also what wasn't, where I could improve. And do things better and get a lot more done from a security perspective. Because the reality is that we can go tell someone to go do it. They're going to decide their own priority in their head about, how much they actually like you. I mean, that's just ultimately what it is. They will either drop what they're doing or they will put it in their backlog and get to it, whenever they feel like it, pretty much. Whereas they're moving other people that they like to the front of the line. And that's just the reality of things. But that's why this is also kind of a teaser for tomorrow's workshop from 2 to 6. So if you haven't signed up for a workshop, I'm doing 4 hours of this. I have done this talk 2 other times, and I've had so much content that I've changed it up each time. Each talk is just a little bit different, and I've added a little bit of variance within that. And the workshop tomorrow will have 4 hours of this stuff and more interacting with each other. I won't make you guys interact with each other for the rest of the talk, but tomorrow we're gonna have some fun. So my role. I work at Premise Health, which is a direct-to-healthcare company. We provide on-site, near-site, and virtual health to pretty much Fortune 1000 are our main clients. And we pretty much build a campus on site of these big boy companies and allow people to go there for healthcare. They get there, they can do other services, like I have a chef and yoga instructors and physical therapists. And so this is a place where employees can go. And so then the companies can control their healthcare costs a little bit more. My role within the company is that I sit with the development team. So I was hired to sit with developers. We're actually in 2 different buildings at the moment. Security team and the IT infrastructure are in one building, and the developers and HR and some of the other departments are in the other building. So I am the only security person in that building, and I sit with the development team, and I build relationships with them. And so a lot of this is coming from my experience, and I have to have a good relationship with them. If you know who Carla is out front, she's a software developer. She loves you here, but when she goes back to work, she hates security people. Why is that? So I've been able to build really good relationships with the developers to the point where oftentimes when I have something, they will get it addressed in a timely manner. And a lot of that is due to some of the techniques I'm about to talk about here. We're going to get into behavioral things first. Understand the goals and challenges of the people that you're working with other departments. If you want to take a red team approach to this is just recon. This is understanding your target. So what I did when I first came in is I went to all their stand-ups, got invited to every meeting, grooming sessions. There wasn't necessarily a security angle to it. I just wanted to be in there and listen and understand their challenges, their frustrations, what are they dealing with. And this is just coming from a place of curiosity. And within information security, I think we're really good at curiosity. We want to understand how things work from a technical standpoint. Well, you can figure out, using these techniques, how to understand people in general, understand their personal likes and dislikes. And this is also not necessarily just interacting from a work perspective, but this is also interacting without actually needing anything. What Carla said, when security comes up to her, she just knows they're coming with something. And I had a lot of that early on. I'd come up to somebody's desk and they'd be like, well, what now? It's like, no, I want to go to lunch, or, I want to talk about this. To do that though, you really need to work on finding a connection with someone. And this can be anything. We're all nerds. The developers are introverted just as much as we do, so there's a connection right there. But we could talk about sports, video games, movies, music, books, board games, whatever it is that you have an interest in, there's probably someone there. You're not necessarily going to click with everyone, so recognize that. In fact, I had a guy and I actually did end up clicking with him eventually, but we were just talking about a variety of different things, and it's like, well, what video games do you play? Well, I play League of Legends. Well, I like Dota 2, and it's like, so that's the same space, but it's like two different things. But then we started talking about college football, and I saw his eyes light up, and I was like, right there, that's my connection. That's my connection with him. So I'm always looking for connections with people, and it's a variety of different things: video games, into craft beer, books, movies, GIFs and memes are fun. YouTube video clips. You can also go to lunch with people. So if you have an opportunity, try to go to lunch with someone. You don't have to go like every day because that gets pretty expensive, but maybe once a week. If people are going out for Taco Tuesday, jump in on that. Go to company events. We all have our Christmas parties. It's a great place to go and connect with people. At my company, we have a variety of different things. We have field day coming up. We have like a fall festival type thing. And that's just a great way to, you know, knock off work a little bit and go interact with people. There's also, you can do clubs. I mentioned, because we're a wellness company, we have a lot of physical clubs. I mentioned running club, and I got mocked by one of my buddies who watched the video later. Doesn't have to be a running club. I actually enjoy running. As Amanda mentioned, the mental health, it's a really good stress relief for me. But we have a running club there because we've got a lot of people that do marathons. I'm not going to do a marathon, not just yet, at least. But I am. So I joined that and got to know people in several different departments. From, marketing was a big one that was doing that, and some of the other departments there. I play ping pong. Developers really love ping pong. There's foosball tables. Go there. I've set up ping pong tournaments, and when we play ping pong, we laugh a lot. And if you want to connect with people, laughing is a really good way to build some camaraderie and connection with people. Vulnerability. This is a pretty big one, but be vulnerable. Be open and candid about, I guess you could do work or, the things that you're doing. When I came into the development team, I knew there was a lot of timidness around me being there. This is a unique situation. No developer has necessarily had a security person there. So to demystify some of that, I went ahead and asked for like 10 minutes during their demo sessions to explain what I was going to bring to the program. So here's where I'd like to go. This is how I'm going to accomplish it. And this is what we're going to try to accomplish with me here. And so I was very forward and open with what I wanted to do with them from a security standpoint. I'm sure as many of you working in an organization, you might disagree with certain security things put in place. I will be open about that. I will have disagreements, and that's not something I'll, mention it to my boss that I disagree with this. And, if it comes up when I'm talking to a developer, I'm not going to hide that. I'm going to be like, well, I disagree with this. I think we should be doing it this way, but this is how it is. So we have to, go about it. They really appreciate that. I don't know is a big one. So I work with developers. I am a senior software security engineer. I don't have a development background. I came up through the operations side. I came up through sysadmin, network admin, got into security, and it was a do-it-all security. So we had pretty much the entire breadth of security. I really enjoyed doing application security. So I had built a program at a previous place of work and got hired here at Premise Health. And so oftentimes I say, I don't know. I don't understand this code. I need you to explain it to me. Can you explain it to me? Or I'll go find out the answer, so that we can accomplish this or get done what we need to get done. And vulnerability leads to authenticity, which is what I want to mention here. For social engineering, in this regard, we're trying to be genuine and authentic. We're not trying to manipulate them. If you manipulate and just take, eventually they'll figure it out, and that you just burned a relationship. You will have just destroyed something that you've tried to build, and it's going to be really hard to get things done. So always make sure to be authentic, and this really draws people in when you're vulnerable. I'm sure listening to Amanda talking about mental health, a lot of you can identify with that. But she was up there being very vulnerable. She had some tears at the end, and I just wanted to run up and hug her because she's being very, very vulnerable about some of the struggles she had. And that just draws people in. I'm sure many of you can identify with that. Give something. This is effort, time, resources, food. Even though it's not my job, I will follow up on support tickets for the developers. This is, I'm sure many of you have dealt with the service desk and know some of the struggles of getting through things there. Stuff falls through the crack. I will make sure that, if someone's been sitting there for a while, I'll go poke it and see if I can't get it moving for them. And they're very appreciative of that. I've also it can be little things. It doesn't have to be big things, it can be little things. We went to go play ping pong with some of the developers, and one of the guys was like, oh man, I forgot my cup. It's like, all right, I'll go back and get it. Went back, grabbed his cup, and brought it back. That same developer later on helped me script something that took him like 2 to 3 minutes to do that probably would have taken me 3 to 4 hours. So you work hard for others and give of yourself, they will give that same thing back in return. This is called like reciprocity. This is called, favors. I wouldn't count favors because that's not really good, and that's, gonna probably end up not in your favor. But give time, resources. Food is a big one. I will bring in breakfast every once in a while. For under $20, you can get Chick-fil-A biscuits. You can get Taco Bell has a great $1 burrito. It's probably not good for you, but it's only $1. So you can bring in 20 burritos depending on the size of the team. And people are really appreciative of that kind of stuff. One of the other things I like to do is within training, I bring bacon. And this is like pre-cooked bacon you get from Costco or Sam's for, again, under $20. And it's like 50 slices. And like the look on their face when they walked in was just so amazing, and it warmed my heart. And I'm sure the bacon warmed their tummies. So you can do little things like that. And this is all my own money too. This isn't something that I'm necessarily expensing back to the company. You can do that, but it's $20. So let's shift now into nonverbal communication. This is body language. It's also how you present yourself is important. So in the red team side of this is dressing up, trying to break into a building as a janitor, wearing a suit as another person, just a regular worker, fire extinguisher inspector, whatever it is. This is paying attention to what you're wearing is important. So I come from state government where, it was slacks and a button-down shirt tucked in, nice shirt. When I was working with developers, I paid attention to what they were wearing. So they're wearing T-shirts, hats, a variety of different things. This isn't to say that you need to entirely ditch your own style or what you like to wear, but I will wear a button-down shirt. I keep it untucked. I roll up the sleeves. Wear jeans now, some nice work shoes, And you can also pay attention to what they are wearing. So again, trying to find that connection. A lot of them wear Star Wars T-shirts or whatever else they might have. If they're wearing hats, teams or whatever else. I mean, you can take an example of what I am wearing right now. Does anyone know why I'm wearing a Houston Astros hat right now, other than being a fan? Are there any baseball fans in the room? Okay, Detroit Tigers. Justin Verlander, right there. So this was intentional because I am in a place where Justin Verlander came from. So if I want people coming up and talking to me and engaging with me that might really be into baseball, this is a connection that you can come, makes it easier for you to come and talk to me about. The shirt here I'm wearing is, I think a really cool shirt. I've actually had a lot of comments. When I go to conferences, I try to pick out shirts that people have made comments on. Tomorrow I'm going to wear one of those Splunk shirts. It says, you can't always blame Canada. That is one that has gotten me the most interactions at conferences. I even had one of the guys that helped design those conference or shirts at Splunk come up and talk to me, and I got some insight into the inside of how the shirts came about. And apparently it became a they stopped doing some of the ones because of some of the words, and marketing started getting involved. So that one is actually like a rare item now. But I like wearing it because I have the same problem with just walking up to people and saying hi. I am still working on a lot of this stuff, but that is one way for me to have an interaction with someone where they come to me, and it's just cool having that kind of stuff. Along with dress, mirroring is really good. So again, I'm mirroring the person, some of the developers with my dress, and people are drawn to other people or connect with people that dress similar to you. And you might recognize this in some of the people that you hang out with. Grooming, of course, is important. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this because we say this at every conference. Take a shower, wear some deodorant, get a haircut. Clip your fingernails. One of the things I learned in the military was if you can go like this and your fingernails are longer than the flesh of your finger, they're too long, you probably need to cut them. Now I guess if everyone in the development team or another department that you're interacting with has really long fingernails, and maybe you can go there. But perception is very important, and so really paying attention to how you dress can have an impact. And all these things are just small little things that help you connect with people and start building better relationships with them. There's no one thing here that's just really, going to make you seen in a really great light. All of them kind of connect together. Along with that, paying attention to body language. This is both what you're doing, but also what other people are doing. People say a lot non-verbally, and it's really, really cool to see, to be able to read people and start picking up on some of the things that people are doing. It's kind of cold in this room, so but this has looked like a defensive position. I am actually really warm right now, but I sometimes do that just, in stand-ups. We actually stand up, and so I get really comfortable standing like this, but I have to remember to keep my arms down by my side. Or, in the military we had the at ease. So I always try to be this because I'm trying to be open and vulnerable with people, and they actually say, Alan Pease came on the Art of Charm podcast and talked about how when you cross your arms, or people that cross their arms, remember that conversation less. It's less likely that they'll remember the conversation. So having like an open stance and open body language and directing yourself at people helps make that connection. Of course, standing up straight, you have more confidence if you stand up straight, and what your body language is can also affect your emotions. So if you remember to stand up straight more, you're going to have a lot more confidence. You're just going to feel a lot better. A trick for that is if you're walking through a door, remember to stand up straight. I see a couple of you guys doing the same thing right now, sitting there, which is great. But standing up straight is pretty important. And then there's also one of the ones I recently learned about was hands on the table. So if my hands are down here, you guys are going to trust me less. Whereas if I have them out where you guys can see them, you actually trust me a little bit more. And this is all subconsciously. So this really applies when you're sitting in meetings with other people. If you have your hands under the table, it kind of looks a little shady. Whereas if you have your hands out, and I've had to remember to put my hands out in front of people, they're going to trust you a little bit more. Going back to vulnerability, smiling. And not the creepy serial killer smile. It's the full T smile. This is something I've really had to work on myself. I still do the creepy serial killer smile when I'm passing someone in the hall, but I try to show my teeth. Because when you show your teeth, that shows vulnerability again. And that just draws people in. They actually did a study on Hot or Not, and they found that people that were rated higher were people that had a full smile, where you can actually see their teeth. They didn't have sunglasses on either. So, again, being open and very vulnerable with people, showing them pretty much what you have. One of the coolest things when paying attention and reading people, is being able to test engagement with people via body language. So you might notice this when you're talking, interacting with someone, that they have matched your body language. This is a subconscious thing, that they're just matching what you do. And if you pick up on this, you can shift your body language, and then you'll notice that they'll shift. And it's really freaky the first time it does it. Sometimes you might not even pay attention to that, and you just absentmindedly, like one time I rolled my shoulders with someone, and then they rolled their shoulders, and I was like, oh. I mean, we were having a really good conversation, but that just kind of told me that he was connecting with me a little bit more. Because sometimes reading people can be tough to tell whether or not you're actually connected with them. So that's a really cool way to test that and figure that out. Finally, let's not play with our phones. This is really hard. Again, I still do this. But when you're looking at your phone and not talking to the person, it doesn't make the other person feel. I feel this because I'm reading a lot of people. When I see them pull their phone out to talk, it's like, well, I've just lost them, right? I don't have a good feeling. It's like something else is important on our phones. So that can be a really hard habit to kick. But it's really important to try and keep the phones away. Now, if it's your significant other, you can pick it up and say that, hey, my wife's texting me, or my husband's texting me. Let me check this real quick. One of the cool things that I like doing is looking at it and go, nope, putting it away. My attention is focused on you. People really appreciate that, because I know I appreciate it when someone just looks at their phone because they got a buzz and just puts it right back away. It's like, no, you're important. You're my focus right now. Don't be this guy when talking to people. Touch. This can be a bit of a touchy subject, so understand people's boundaries. But within our community, a lot of us really like hugs. If people don't, so again, recognize if people don't like hugs, but that shows a strong emotional bond, and that's actually, you think about it with your family, things like that. If people don't like, and people just might not like touching altogether, but one of my other favorite things is doing high fives with people. So actually with like family, before I leave, I'll just high five everybody instead of like shaking their hand or hugging them, just to be a little bit different. But again, shaking hands professionally. And when we're talking about shaking hands professionally, what you want to do, because you always have that awkward where you grab their fingers or they grab your fingers, what you want to do is your webbing right there, you want to aim that for their webbing, step forward and into the handshake. And then a firm handshake, not too hard, not too soft, not too long. This is just, basic interviewing stuff, right? Why do I have a blank slide? So now we'll talk about communication, and this is kind of in person and also electronic. That's apparently a blank slide that I added. Ask all the questions. This kind of goes back to getting to know people and how you can actually go about doing that. People love talking about themselves. And so if you want to be seen as a great conversationalist, actively listen and then follow up with more questions. So you just keep asking questions of that person. And it's amazing how just saying, how are you? People will open up with me, especially if they're having a bad day or they're struggling with something. Sometimes they just want to get something off their chest. And again, you don't need to necessarily try to fix their problems. You want to, you can sympathize with them. Oh man, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. You can, follow up, what are you doing about this? I try not to go too deep unless they really, really kind of open up with me. It's also a little bit awkward for me when I say, how are you? And people just open up to me. But it is amazing. And they feel better for getting something off their chest and telling you about it. And so you've just built that connection with them. So ultimately, just shut up and listen. It can make a huge impact on people. Words that make an impact. Because is something I like to use, and they've done studies that if you use because, so they had this long line of people waiting for the copier to get something copied, and they started with, well, because I need to get back to work, or something that was actually relevant. But then they started using more irrelevant, like my baby's sick, and people were still letting them cut in line ahead of them. So because can be very powerful. I believe is also, I believe we need to do this. Will show that you have a lot of confidence, and that it just, for whatever reason, it makes people more believe what you're about to say. Bluff. Has anyone heard of bluff? What's bluff?
Bottom line up front.
Damn it. I had the joke of breeches and leather uniform club, fan club. The guy that bottom line up front probably know, but the people that may have known what this was probably didn't want to say anything. I found that when I was Googling pictures for bluff. Yes, it is bottom line up front. Good job there. This is a lot like phishing emails. We want people to respond. Oftentimes, I will see emails where it's like 2 paragraphs and then the question's at the bottom. What you do is you take that question and move it up to the top. It feels so unnatural to do this. But if you move it to the top, then they don't have to go back and read through. So if the question's at the bottom, you read through and then go back up. The person goes back up and reads it again. This is an example I had. So I have the question at the top, and then I only have one sentence. I will try to be short and direct, so I'll do 1 or 2 sentences. Even though I want to give more context, I pretty much summarize. And if they want more context, they will ask for it. I actually had buddy Matt, who's here. I don't know if he's in this talk, but he recently told me he started using this. And he said he started getting a lot more responses from people. He says he still uses the long ones when he doesn't really care. But he uses this when he needs to get a response. And this will get you a lot more responses. If I get a long email, I'm probably going to put that to the side. It's like, I don't have a time, to read a full article right now. I'm busy. Get back to it. Whereas this, it's like, oh, okay, well, I can just respond real quick and get on with it pretty much. Another thing you can do is use memes. We all love memes and GIFs. As you can see here, this was actually, the marketing manager sent me slides, and then said, thank you for sharing my meme skills, because I sat down with her and went through these slides, and she really liked them, which to me meant that I should just respond with a meme. Which she laughed at that and said she figured she should have expected that. Also, finally, avoid electronic communications altogether. Electronic communications can be misinterpreted. They're generic. They're toneless. They don't give anything within there. You read it in your own head, whereas they may have had a different context in their head. Funny story that happened the other day is my boss got an email, or no, it was an email. It was a text from our CISO going, data going to Ukraine, which he flipped out about, got the SOC manager involved, and our CISO has a tendency to text and then not text for 20 minutes. So for 20 minutes, my boss was freaking out. And then finally he responded with, oh, that was just an example. It's like, thanks, boss. Yeah, exactly. So I always try to get up and go to people and talk to them, especially if it's like a low item that can wait. I don't need to email them right away. A lot of people are getting emails. So if you have an opportunity, go talk to the person. You don't necessarily... that's not always necessarily the case. Maybe try to pick up the phone instead so you can actually hear tone and things like that. Again, some people might be having a bad day. And so if you just pile on, that's not going to make you look good. So walking up to them and kind of read them a little bit and figure out what kind of mood they're in. If they're in a happy mood, drop it. Or again, this goes back to how are you before every communication with someone. You can walk up to them going, how are you doing? And then have like a little conversation, and then they'll be like, well, what are you here for? After you've talked to them for 20 minutes. It might feel like you're wasting time, but you're actually building a relationship with them, and you're treating them like humans and not robots. I think a lot of times in security, it's like we have to get this done. We got to go do this, and we forget kind of the human element of this. And that with developers specifically, they have a lot of pressure going on. They've got deadlines to meet, and we tend to bring a lot more work or correct work saying you need to go do this the right way. So if you have that relationship with them, you've talked about cars, you've talked about books, you've talked about beer with them, they're again much more open and likely to take in consideration that stuff and actually go and do it. So I always try to do when I can in-person communication. That's pretty much the basics of the talk. I'm doing a workshop again tomorrow for 4 hours where we'll cover that and a lot more different things. It's 4 hours long, so really looking forward to it. But resources, I have a GitHub page where I have shared links, videos, YouTube, articles, various different things. And I intend to keep adding to it. In fact, while I was sitting at the airport, I added a couple more videos to that GitHub page. So anything in this talk will be available there. Try to make it easy for everybody to get to. You can just look for Timothy D. Block on GitHub, and then it's the Social Engineering Blue Team. Books. So these are the resources that I've read that really apply to this topic. I specifically want to call out Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways by Dr. Susan Jeffers. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you this is all easy. It's not. It's really hard to interact with people, especially if you identify as an introvert. The Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways, I read, oh gosh, like 16 years ago now. But it's a really powerful book about recognizing your fear and then going and doing it anyways. And that's how we grow as a person, but also in building relationships with people, is we have to go through those awkward moments, those uncomfortable moments. And that book, if you struggle with interaction with people and really getting started with some of this stuff, that's a really great first book to read. It changed my life around quite a bit. And then, of course, there's the typical 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and the How to Win Friends and Influence People. Those are pretty much for salesmen, but a lot of those same, the salesmen, they want you to buy something. You're going to buy something from someone if you like them. So a lot of those same concepts can be applied. And then, of course, Chris Hadnagy's book, Social Engineering. This is my aha moment of how I could apply it within, or how I was even using it within my organization, and how, in fact, I could get even better with that stuff. Again, why should the red team have all the fun? If you're on the blue team side, we can have, fun with this too. And get a lot more stuff done. Podcasts. I am really into podcasts. I've already mentioned The Art of Charm. Jordan Harbinger's show. Jordan Harbinger used to do The Art of Charm, but he has left and done his own podcast now. And it talks a lot about social skills, psychology. So he even mentions social engineering in the opening line. But it deals a lot with social skills. So if you're looking to improve there, that's a good one. Of course, Chris Hadnagy's Social Engineering Podcast. What's great about that one that I really like is I like when he brings people from outside the industry in, because that gives us a different perspective on some of the things outside of our industry. Because I think again, we need to be paying attention to our own perception and how we're perceived within security. Recently, I talked to a buddy of mine I played WoW with for like 10 years ago, and I was a network administrator. He was still in IT, but I'd moved into security. He's like, what are you doing now? I said, I'm security. He's like, I thought you were a better person than that. Which to me was interesting. I was like, why? He's like, because all security people are mall cops, right? So that's how we're being perceived. I think he was working in a place where the security people aren't building relationships and they're just demanding stuff. And so, he doesn't feel like he needs to do anything for them. He might eventually be forced to, but I thought that was an interesting interaction. And so, while, those memes where it's like, this is what my mother does, this is what I think I do, like those are totally accurate. So we really need to be conscious of how we're being perceived outside of our industry, because I think we're all great, and I think we build these great relationships at conferences, but then we don't go back and build them within our own organization. Now that might be harder than others. I've worked at crappy organizations where that's really hard to do. I'm at one now where it's really great, and that's kind of just the culture of it. So something just to keep in mind. And then, of course, career manager tools. Speaking of our own organizations, this is a business etiquette podcast. It's also got great stuff on interviewing and being interviewed, and also how to give an interview, how to do feedback with people. But one of the things they really focus on is building relationships within our own organization. If you want to be a manager, this is a really great set of podcasts to go through. It also has stuff for non-managers and how to interact with people. That's what the career tools are for. But if you want to be a manager, the biggest thing you can do is build a relationship with your people. In fact, recently they talked about the 3 types of power within an organization. Expertise power, which is what you know, what you do. Role power, which is being a manager. And then relationship power. Relationship power was 75% of what they considered the power of an organization. And so building relationships is very important. It's what's going to make you successful. It's what's going to help you build build your career and climb the ladder. Final thoughts. So this can take time. You have to go out and practice. Again, I am still working on stuff. I am looking for things that make me better at interacting with people. For the longest times, I would have a good interaction with people initially, but then eventually they stopped wanting to talk to me, they stopped wanting to hang out with me. What I had to identify was that I'm a troll, and so I pick on people a lot, and so I had to really start pushing some of those away and start just being more positive with people. I still get a little trolly with people. I try to do it as fun to get us all to laugh, but sometimes people just don't appreciate it. They might laugh at it, but then they're like, "You jerk." So that's something I've had to work on myself, and I've had a lot more fulfilling relationships and longer lasting relationships because I identified that and moved on. So, contact and shameless plug. I am timothy.dblock@gmail.com, at Twitter @timothydblock. website is timothydblock.com. And then I run the Exploring Information Security podcast. And there I have a different security professional on each week to talk about a different information security topic. This is wide ranging. This is social skills. So I've had a couple social skills with Johnny Christmas, and then I've also had Sammy Kamkar on to talk about how finding vulnerability. So it's a wide range of different stuff within the security industry. That's pretty much it. Any questions? I think I made it right on time. Yeah, even with the delay. Yes, sir.
How do you handle toxic relationships in the workplace?
Like, do you have an example? And maybe if you can't give an example, that's fine. But okay, I mean, that's where for me, if I had a toxic relationship, I would try to understand them. So again, it's a lot about empathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Like, why don't they like me? And starting questions. And we have relationships like that at my work. I can tell you some of the people don't get along very well, and I get stuck in the middle sometimes about that. And it's just like I don't necessarily know what to do. But in those things, it's just asking questions of trying to understand why they're doing, like, why is it a toxic relationship? What is that again, what makes that person tick? It's getting to know that person. So that's actually, where I would start. And then also just realizing you may not have the perfect relationship. You're not going to be best friends with everybody. There's just certain people you click with and others you don't. I tend to get into a lot of different things that I see are cool. So for example, like the Nashville Predators are in the playoffs right now. I haven't watched hockey since like 2004 or 2005 when they did the lockout. But I have started watching it a lot more because we've got a lot of fans at work, and so I want to connect with those people. So it's trying to find something to connect with them on, but also getting to know them and maybe understand. And maybe, so for me, it's been, well, they've had bad interactions with other people not associated with me in the past. And so they have this, first impressions are a big thing. So if they have a bad impression of someone, that's really hard to get rid of. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other question? That's a good question. By the way, for people in the video, he asked what to do if there's a toxic relationship. Any other questions? Yeah.
You say you develop relationships with the software developers?
Yeah.
Because you sit with them now?
Yeah.
Is that intentional?
That was part of the role. So they came in, and so part of my hiring process was I also interviewed with security people, but I also interviewed with management for the development people. And so what they were more looking for was whether or not I was a culture fit with them. But yes, I interviewed with them. So that was intentional. And it's actually something I'd like to see a lot more is security people sitting with other people. I have the idea of why not have a security person sitting with the network people, with the system admin people. I don't think this has to be just to developers. Again, you have to build a good relationship with them. But I feel like when developers see a security person there in their meetings, they take security, they're more mindful about security, because I've seen it, because I've seen them bring up, an issue come up, and I'm like, I want to see how they solve this problem. And they will start going down the wrong path, and I'm just waiting, and then eventually they'll self-correct. A lot of that is because they know I'm in the room, but I also want them to find their own solution for that kind of stuff. But yeah, and also I'm not just a security person bringing them more work. I'm Tim, sitting right next to them, and I still get crap. I get the constant, oh, you're in security. They put me right next to the door where everybody has to badge in. So I don't think they did that intentionally, but it's just like, oh, we got to badge in. So yeah, so and I have to put up with that, and I will yell at them every once in a while, just out of fun. Oh, I didn't hear you badge in. So I play up to that a little bit, but I'm also very conscious of that kind of stuff. So and
it's a bit easier when you're with them.
Right, you're with them, because if you just sit with someone, you're gonna connect with them on some level. You're not going to necessarily, again, connect with everybody, but they'll understand you a little bit more and see you as a human. And again, that's a big part of it too. We think developers are idiots. They see us as just bringing them more work or mall cops. But when you actually sit down with people and try to understand them and just you're just going to run into conversations with them that just makes it more of like a actual human interaction. And they kind of get over, oh yeah, he's sitting here. So there, like I said, there was a lot of timidness. My first week, I was getting fish-eyed all over the place. Like, who is this guy? But eventually I did start building a relationship with them, and they kind of went back to normal for them. So, great question. And that question too for people on video, I keep forgetting to mention that first. I'm working on that. Is sitting with developers if that was intentional. So, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you. Sorry we went over. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but enjoy the rest of the conference.